How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about the U.S. House Rep from Virginia's 4th Congressional District, down in McEachin, saying that Virginia's Governor, Ralph Northam, could sic the National Guard onto Virginians who do not want to comply with Virginia's current gun laws or any potential upcoming gun laws that could be in the books in the very near future. Now, there's a whole lot to get through, a whole lot to quote unquote unpack here, as the cool kids would say. But first, let me start from the very beginning so you understand and you see clearly what's happening here. First, I'll tell you about me briefly. I'm from Virginia. I grew up there most of my life. I've only been gone for about 2 years. I was born in Charleston, West Virginia, more specifically Rand University. Shout out Randy Moss. Anyway, shortly thereafter, I moved to Virginia. I was a baby. My parents moved to Virginia. I lived in Newport News on the corner of Jefferson and Mercury in the trailer park, straight from West Virginia. I lived in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, a little bit of everywhere, but I primarily lived in Portsmouth and Chesapeake. And that's a good segue into how this whole thing even came about. Many cities and counties in Virginia have passed ordinances or resolutions, whatever you want to call it, that have made themselves into Second Amendment sanctuary cities. That means if the government, local, federal, whatever, are trying to come to their place and enact draconian gun laws, trying to take guns away, they are not going to comply. It's a good form of non-compliance, in my humble opinion. The bad form of non-compliance is these people that have sanctuary cities as it relates to illegal immigration. Okay, all that happens in that situation is that the illegal aliens are allowed to stay there, run drugs, traffic human beings, just basically commit crime in the open because they will not be deported. But for now, I digress. My whole point is that there have been many counties that have enacted ordinances or resolutions or whatever the case may be to make themselves be Second Amendment sanctuary cities. Now, Chesapeake, Virginia, where I grew up, part of my life and lived for a very long time, probably like 15, 20 years, not really sure how long, they have passed an ordinance that's similar to the other ones, but not quite the same. They're not a Second Amendment sanctuary. They are a Second Amendment constitutional city. That means that they will do everything in their power, according to what they passed, to protect Chesapeake residents' Second Amendment rights in the Constitution, but they won't necessarily go against the law if it is enacted. Prime example, if you have the government, the federal government, whatever, come to Chesapeake and say, hey, we're going to do a raid, this, that, and the third, pursuant to the law, they may not stop that. So I don't really know how far they're going to go with protecting your rights, and they're not going to stop rights from being violated due to a lot of on the books. But for now, I digress. My whole point is that that whole thing was passed. Now, I don't know when McEachin said this, but I would not be surprised if he said it right after Chesapeake did what they did, because his district includes Chesapeake. All right. That's only after they redrew the lines for, gerrymandering, but they probably gerrymandered it to help the Democrats. But again, I move on. He said that, it's, the law's a law. If they don't want to comply, Ralph Northam could call the National Guard. I'm not sure if he will. I can't speak for him, but he does have that in his back pocket. Now, I heard Ralph Northam say that they can do whatever they want. All these, sanctuary cities, whatever, what the law's a law, and we're still going to pass common sense gun control. But my question is, what does common sense gun control look like? People are saying, oh, the laws that people are worried about haven't passed yet. Well, there's a whole lot of things happening right now that are leading to that. It's like little things here and there. If you go to Northern Virginia, the laws are different than outside of that general bubble. Northern Virginia is basically Washington, D.C. Go to Alexandria, Fairfax County, maybe even Loudoun. You go up there and you have different little laws on the books. You have open carry, but you can't open carry certain kinds of weapons at certain time and in certain parts of the city. It's magazine regulations, it's that and the third. Okay. The feature creep of little ordinances is already up there in Northern Virginia, where all these laws, quite frankly, emanate from. A lot of these people, your Mark Herring, their attorney general, Ralph Northam, the blackface governor, the lieutenant governor, Justin Fairfax, the alleged rapist. All these people pretty much cater to Washington, D.C. because it's right there. That's pretty much their base, in my humble opinion. But I'll move on. There's little bills out there right now that have not become law. I think one bill kicking around the Virginia Senate is to change what defines an assault weapon and then try to put a ban on that. You see what I'm saying? It's little things like that. It may seem small to some that are just looking at it on paper, but it'll build up. Once you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So people are trying to get out in front of that, saying you're not going to infringe upon our rights. Once you go to the cities, you go to Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Richmond, maybe even Roanoke to a certain extent, of course, Northern Virginia. Once you go to the cities, they're pretty much going to be liberal and for, quote unquote, common sense gun control. But take a step outside of the cities and you're going to see a whole different situation. Chesapeake is a city, but at the same time, it's only like the top part of it that's city or urban at all. Once you leave, like I say, Great Bridge Boulevard to the south, and that's the majority of the city and land area, it's rural, farmland and people like that. They're not going to give up their guns at all. I know guys out there right now that are in militias that train, you will not take their guns at all. So McEachin threatening to send a National Guard, man, you don't want that, man. I think McEachin should apologize, quite frankly, because all you're doing is just agitating people unnecessarily. People that I know that are in these groups training, they're peaceful. They don't want any kind of problems with anybody. They just want to defend themselves and their families. It's simple. Once you go out there in these areas where they really want their guns, the police are not going to be able to help. You got drugs running from New York and all of this. They don't have time to be trying to say, oh, I'm going to just hand my gun away. They're not really for that. And even in the bigger cities, a lot of them don't want that either. If I was still in Virginia, I would have been out there in Chesapeake with them, where they were so deep. I mean, it was like capacity inside the City Hall in Chesapeake, right there on Cedar Road, where I've been many times. Same thing down Nemo Parkway in Virginia Beach, where unfortunately you had that Virginia Beach shooting. How are you going to have a mass shooting that happens where people were not able to have their guns, then say, well, hey, if you want to keep your guns, you may be punished by the National Guard? How does that make any sense? It does not make any sense. So, hey, everybody in Virginia, I'm right there with you. I'm a Virginia boy through and through. That's never going to change. It don't matter where I'm at. I could be in Tennessee. I could be in Europe. I could be in Africa. I'm still Virginia through and through. I support you 100%. Unfortunately, I saw this coming with Ralph Northam and his Attorney General, Mark Herring, because when I was there, Mark Herring tried to pass the reciprocity agreement, or not pass it, he tried to rescind it. The reciprocity agreement says that if you have a concealed carry permit in the Commonwealth of Virginia, that same permit will be valid in a bunch of other states, like 25 other states. If you had your permit in Virginia, you were able to go to Carolina without having to go to Raleigh, and your concealed carry permit would still be good in Carolina. But Ralph Northam's Attorney General, Mark Herring, tried to rescind that. Well, he did rescind it, but it got unrescinded by the Republican-controlled Senate at the time in Virginia. Now, that's not the case. You have Democrat controlling everything in Virginia, and you're going to see things like this happen more and more. People in these sanctuary cities for guns understand what's happening to their state. They know that DC's running it. They know that these laws are going to come down the pike. They are hearing the chatter. They are aware. They're not asleep. You can't just pull the wool over Virginians' eyes, Ralph Northam, Mark Herring, and everybody else, Justin Fairfax, the whole squad. You can't do it. We see what's going on, and we're not going to stand for it. So, McEachin, you should apologize. Northam, apologize. You don't want to have any kind of problems. Keep peace in your state. If you want the best for your state, you will allow people to have their firearms and protect themselves. You don't want them to be victimized by outside invaders and drug runners and criminals. You just don't want that. Let people have their guns. You won't have problems. The issue with guns, as I close, and the violence is not with law-abiding gun owners. It's with prohibited possessors in Norfolk and in Richmond. You know where the crime is at. Put officers where the crime is at and fight it right there. Don't just be trying to pass these wide sweeping regulations on farmers and regular people, rural people, regular normie citizens. Don't do it. it's not going to be a good outcome for you. And I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think it's a good thing that many cities have declared themselves sanctuary cities or Second Amendment constitutional cities? If that's your viewpoint, let me know why in the comments below. Or is it a bad thing? Should they just let Virginia's government and or the federal government just take their guns just because, you know, you got the governor talking about, oh, we want to have common sense gun control. We want to keep Virginia safe. How are you going to keep Virginia safe? Are you going to come to my house with a gun and protect my family at night? Or is it got to be me? If it's got to be me, how can you take my gun and expect me to protect anybody? If the criminals have guns and I don't, I'm at a disadvantage and I can't rely upon you or anybody else to protect me. So what am I going to do? You're making a bad decision. And I hope the nation is standing up and taking notice. People that might be on the left, on the right, if you want to protect yourselves, who does not want you to protect yourself? And you got to ask yourself, why can I not protect myself? Why am I being stripped of my rights as an American citizen according to the Constitution, Second Amendment? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.